Hey friends, Daniela here, and welcome to the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. I'm super happy to have you here with our guest, Ryan Arca from Rohrer Aesthetics. Now, some of you might remember that back in April, I went out to Scottsdale, Arizona to speak at the Blue Ocean Aesthetics tour. I got to meet a lot of you. I got to give you hugs. I got to hear your stories. I got to share meals with you. I got to laugh and do some stories. It was a wonderful time. I also got to learn from some incredible people in the industry, and I got to speak. Overall, it was a lovely, lovely, lovely experience. And I don't know about you, but when we get to meet someone in person or connect with them in person and share those experiences, when we connect with them virtually, or even just down the line, if we get to connect with them again in person in doing business with those people, it deepens that relationship. I feel really strongly about connecting with others in our industry in person, which is why I'm so excited to share that on September 29th and 30th, Rohrer Aesthetics is hosting their second Blue Ocean Aesthetics tour. Now, the 29th is the cocktail reception. The actual educational event is happening on September 30th, 2023. Now, what they're going to be focusing on is differentiating Rohrer Aesthetics in the aesthetic industry and why you should be the partner of choice. There's going to be presentations and demonstrations by world-renowned thought leaders in aesthetic medicine. They're going to be identifying untapped potential in your practice, and they're going to talk about integrating and maximizing energy-based technologies. Now, here is the exciting news. If you are listening to this podcast and you would like to attend this event, all you've got to do is use the promo code ADDO, ADDO, and they will waive the registration fee. That is super, super cool. So you get all the benefits, get to spend a day connecting, networking, learning, and you get that registration fee waived. So make sure that you use the promo code ADDO, and we've got the link here below the show notes for you to learn more about the tour, see if it works in your schedule, but definitely check that out. Okay, so let me do a quick read of Ryan's bio. He's going to be talking to us all about Rohrer Aesthetics, sharing a little bit of his story. And if you're interested in going medical or bringing on energy-based devices, you should definitely listen to this episode to learn more about Rohrer and see if they're a company that is aligned with you, with your values, with what you're trying to create. I think they're a lovely company and definitely worth checking out. So Ryan is the Aesthetic Vice President of Sales for Rohrer Aesthetics. He is a New Yorker. He was born and raised there, and he spent the past 16 years of his career in medical aesthetic device space. Now, during this time, he's accumulated knowledge on the clinical portion of light-based technologies, the evolution of aesthetic modalities, the competitive space, and the importance of technology in this growing field. So he is very articulate. That's something that I personally love about him. He's able to explain what could be a more complicated topic in a very clear and concise manner. So he's an excellent communicator. I hope you enjoy this episode, and don't forget to use the promo code ADDO to waive your registration fee for the Aesthetics Tour coming up later this month. All right, Ryan, welcome to the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. I'm so excited to have you here to learn more about Rohrer Aesthetics and the lasers that you guys offer and all the devices that you guys offer.
Thank you for having me, Danielle. It's great to be here.
So let's just jump right into giving an overview of the different devices that you guys are offering, what they are, and who they're for.
Of course. So we have a wide portfolio of solutions. So our goal is to cover over 90% of the technology that practices could benefit from, that patients want the solutions from. So particularly our flagship devices, we have the Spectrum. It's a multi-platform laser. It has hair removal. It has erbium for skin resurfacing. It has a long pulse YAG on it. It has Q-switch for tattoo removal. It has long pulse YAG for vascular. And then our Pixel 8 is our radio frequency microneedling, which has become the most trendy, most exciting technology in the space. There's a lot of different devices out there, but this one is a really, really nice, efficacious, safe, fast technology to use. We also have multi-wavelength hair removal devices. We have skin resurfacing with CO2, which is the Phoenix. We have body toning and body shaping. So we have the body tone, which is for muscle confusion and development. We have body sculpt, which is for fat reduction as well. We have the Impulsa, which is a device that is really great for rehabilitation, for circulation and blood flow. Great solutions, kind of everyday for the everyday spa.
So you think your two most popular are the Spectrum and the Pixel 8?
I do, by far.
Okay. Tell me the pros and cons to having a device like the Spectrum where you have everything in one platform. I know, there's arguments that like, okay, you have everything, it's taking up less space, it's more cost effective, but then you can only do one thing at a time, right? If the device is in one room. How do you guys reconcile that?
Sure. It's interesting because that's definitely a con because you can only do one thing at once, but it's really looking at the evolution of aesthetics and practices. There's a lot of solo practitioners that are really mom and pop or one person operating their own aesthetic clinic. They're not all the giant,
so true.
The giant dermatology and plastic surgery practices. They need more. Right? They need to be able to do more than one thing in multiple rooms. So when we were looking at designing the Spectrum, Mark Rohrer, who founded the technology, really looked into market research of what's a technology that can really check a lot of the boxes from the right solutions, tried and true wavelengths, gold standard technology. He didn't put any consumables so that when people purchased the device, they could buy the device and realize a nice return on investment. But having the multitude of solutions has been very beneficial in such a growing market because a lot of practices want to buy something that really covers a lot of different opportunities for patients and that aesthetic journey to come back for retention, to making sure that they can get the best results from one device without having to really have multiple things in one room because of course space is an issue. So that's been a little bit of the behind of the why, but some of the pros are you have one thing that does so many different treatments. So a patient can come in and you don't have to say, I'm sorry, I couldn't afford that technology because I need 5 of them. So it's really helped us kind of break into a category of needs for a lot of these practices.
It's so true because I'm seeing, especially I feel like in the last year and a half, so many med spas popping up everywhere. And it is like an NP or some, it's like one person with maybe a team of 1 or 2 other providers or other estheticians that are in there helping support. But having those smaller, more boutique practices, we're seeing so much more of rather than these big, 20,000 square foot arenas that are, with all of the rooms. And that makes so much sense to serve that community.
Well, so what we've seen is there's a complete separation of this. So we see people from hospitals that have been in emergency medicine and have very strenuous lifestyles that want a bit of a change and they want to really take control of their life again, be able to have either supplemental income or just be able to do something that they can dive in and make people look better and feel better. We have people that have been in aesthetics for years that have been working for some of these bigger clinics that really see an opportunity to go out on their own. Extenders has been a very interesting surge over the past few years because it used to be very heavy on the core physicians, the plastic surgeons and the dermatologists, and they're still very, very important from a scientific standpoint and validation of technology. But what we've seen is a lot of practices are really growing from the standpoint of PAs and NPs and RNs that are really looking to do more because injectables has become the most prevalent thing. Number 1 and number 2 products that are used are neurotoxin and fillers.
And they are not the most profitable.
Right.
Yeah. So you can be busy, but you've got to use those to get people in the door, to get them coming back. But where you're going to make your margins are on these other devices. And also it's, a lot of the complaints are redness or brown spots or texture and tone. And to a certain degree, you can deal with lines and wrinkles. You can a little bit deal with texture if you have some crepiness that if you fill it, it kind of smooths it out. But you have to have these multimodalities to be able to really give the end result that the patient's looking for.
Yeah, well, so it's funny. One of our physicians on our advisory board, Dr. Alan Durkin, he does a lot of consulting with us. He helps us make good clinical, strong decisions. And he speaks very frequently about, I'm a surgeon and I can manipulate the structures internal of the face, but what I can't do with my hands is I can't change the quality of the skin. Mm-hmm. So I really need to supplement what I'm doing surgically with energy-based devices. And that really helped when we were building out the portfolio and the right solutions. And back to the Spectrum and Pixel 8, those are really the core fundamentals, because it really allows you to have that conversation with a patient that does come in that maybe they did get a neurotoxin or filler, but there's so many other things that they want to be addressed and taken care of. So from the quality, from a texture, pigmentation, vascular, our goal is to have the right type of technology so that practices that are either starting or expanding or just looking for something different, they can all afford those technologies. And that's really the essence of Rohrer, is having versatility but affordability for practices to get the right technology and have that financial freedom to expand how they'd like to.
I love that. Versatility. What did you say? Versatility and...
Oh man,
it just came out so smooth, and I was like, "Ooh, that's an Instagrammable moment." I love that right there.
The financial freedom is the move. Because if you think about it, I mean, think about how much money practices spend on all things across the board. I mean, the things that you don't even think of. There's the staff, there's the gauze, there's the tongue depressors. All of this costs money. So when they're making a decision to invest and expand into an energy-based device, we can talk about the Spectrum is a device that's very reasonably priced, but the industry standard has been if it doesn't cost $100,000 to $150,000 or more, it may not be worth looking at, or they command that price point. But when you look at a technology that is based on science, that's FDA cleared, that has, checking the box of the same type of wavelengths, gold standard, it's, again, FDA cleared. If you can shave off dollars, think about what you can do for your practice. So to give an example, let's say you spend $80,000 on a device that other devices in the market comparably are $150,000, right? So that's a swing of $70,000 that you could utilize to hire people for social media. You can buy more injectables. You can start marketing your practice differently. You can invest in different avenues to drive patients in, because patient acquisition is extremely challenging. It's expensive. It's time consuming, but if you're paying all this money to get technology that's going to overhaul and create that anxiety where you're chasing a payment every single month, it takes away from your ability to actually do some of the things that can really drive and move the needle for your practice.
Yeah, it's so important. It's, marketing is such a skill, and it's something that needs to be learned and developed and stay on top of, because rules change. And, just a couple of updates ago, we had the iOS 14 updates, which completely rocked the marketing world of information, of what we're able to see and track and all of that. And it changed the way that we did ads. It changed the way that we did business. And that was, for me, who's very much in the marketing space, I still was like, okay, what's going on? How do we change this? How do we shift this? To have to operate a practice and be seeing patients every day, managing staff, you're not only being the technician, you're being the manager, and you're being the entrepreneur. It's like all three roles, which deserve their own. If you're a technician, you should be a technician. If you're a manager, you should be a manager. If you're the entrepreneur, the visionary, you should be in that role, because you're doing your company a disservice if not. So it's not to be taken lightly what a huge role marketing your practice is. And I see a lot where practices will say, I'm going to invest in this piece of equipment. And it is not, if you build it, they will come. If you buy it, they will come, right? You've got to have that marketing plan in place to really highlight, what is this going to do for you? How is this going to help you feel better about yourself or more confident about yourself, or give you back more time because you don't have to wear makeup during the day, or you feel confident enough to not wear makeup throughout the day by getting this. It's like really highlighting the benefit of that service rather than just the scientifically, this study showed, or this, but what is this going to, how is this going to change the quality of my life, right?
That's right.
I feel like practices miss that a lot, of highlighting that particular benefit.
Well, you're right. I mean, now it's business owners. It's not just practitioner. Everyone's wearing so many different hats because they're trying to run extremely fast, and there's so many distractions in the market. It's a business at the end of the day. Of course, you want the best safety and you want the best clinical efficacy. But what's happened is there's a lot of marketing, not only from the practice side, but from medical device companies they shine their toys. It's like anything else. And you made an interesting point with the new iOS upgrade. It's all technology. So technology evolves over time, but there's some fundamental things about technology that makes it tick and makes it operate. And what we've done is we really try to alleviate and mitigate any type of challenge for the practice with our business model. So one of our models is really just pricing transparency and consistency. It's very unique in the medical device space. It's you used to have to call a company and it takes a while to get the price because everything's a long negotiation. Whereas we post our prices right on our website, they're right on our flyers. So the person that is that entrepreneur, that business owner, that practitioner, we can take away one of those obstacles for them and have them understand this is transactional, but there's a lot more of a conversation that we can have, not just on price and if you buy it today. We want to make sure that you can understand this is the price of our equipment, so you can check the box, does this make sense financially? Then we come in and we can have a conversation on the clinical, the versatility, the marketing support, the post-training support so that you can get the right level of service so that you can safely treat patients and make sure to really expand your practice the right way.
I think there's a fear in putting your prices out there that if someone sees that right away without having the understanding of yes, but, or yes, and if you market this, or here's the margin, or here's the, here's with the proper marketing plan or with the proper like introduction of this service, you can make that back. People might see a big number and just be afraid of it. Or you can look at it as this is complete clarity and communication, and they're not wasting my time. Sure. Right. It's kind of two approaches, but I see that even in practice owners when they're saying, should I put my prices online or not? It's an approach, and sure, I'm sure you lose people by having it online without like getting them to call in. But I think that more people will actually book and call in by just having that clarity from the beginning.
Well, I think it's been a little bit disruptive. And I think there's both of those paths. And the people that see the pricing and it might price them out, that's okay, because maybe they're not ready for a piece of equipment yet. Maybe there's financing options that we can help educate them on. And we do publish those as well to show that it doesn't just have to be pay this dollar amount and you're done. We can help give you a pathway to pay this off over time. But you're right. And there is definitely trepidation sometimes with that, but it also helps us qualify people quicker to make sure that we're having conversations with people that are ready to expand their business. And the clarity is really important. It's a little bit different, and it's kind of like that taboo thing that no one does in the industry, and we've done so. And the history of Rohrer, back in the day, it was really like it was in Mark Rohrer's basement. That's how he started the company. And now we're at a point where we've grown this organization to, I started here 2 years ago and there were 14 employees and we have 60 today. And now we went from a company that was only answering phones and going to trade shows to having a full-fledged sales force and clinical team. And with that, we have opportunities to engage and to educate and to make sure that we are doing things a little bit different, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of commoditization and there's a lot of, I told you, distraction before, but we're trying to kind of pull the curtain open and show you that this is how it can be. And if you want to have the conversation, we can give you a nice outlook on what things can be in your practice at an affordable price with the right type of technology.
So that's a great lead into a topic that I wanted to talk about, which is training and support after you purchase the device.
Sure.
And, sometimes you'll see companies that come in just for a short period of time, okay, you purchase the device, you get a couple of hours of training and that's it. Or you'll have another company come in. We were talking about this before, where you guys do like a full day and a half or 2 days of training, something along those lines.
We do, depending on the device. Some people get more training on it.
And at the same time, you get pushback of, I don't want to close my practice for 2 full days. But there's the support of knowing how to use the device that's so incredibly important. Let's kind of have that conversation around what expectations should a practice owner have around the support that they'll get in training afterwards. What's normal for them to look for?
So that's also evolved. Back in the day, I think it was bring in a device, you see the device, you click the device and you get a certificate. And I think that's what's happened. And the goal is to really make sure from all of these companies is you have a piece of equipment that essentially can become dangerous and create adverse events. And that's always something that you don't want. So with Rohrer, what we've done, and it's really about accountability. Once somebody purchases a device, we make sure that we send them a welcome email to unlock all the different clinical and marketing resources that we have. But then it really starts the conversation. So we assign a clinical educator. We have an incredible team of over a dozen clinical educators across the country with all different decorated accolades, from the top safety laser officers actually in Texas to NPs and PAs, et cetera. The conversation starts there. And it is funny because you said like it's hard to close the practice down because it's a business where if you close down, you could be losing revenue.
You will be losing yeah.
You will. And I think the realization is we are bringing in a medical device that can benefit a lot of people, but if used improperly, we can hurt someone. Mm-hmm. So it's really the clinical educator has to stand their ground pretty firmly to say, this is what I need to give you the level of support that you need to give the best results and safety to your practice. To your patients. And that conversation can start 3-4 weeks in advance. An agenda flows through, and then the conversation of how many patients, how many providers. We try to limit the number of providers in a room at once, because you can imagine if you have one device that has a multitude of applications like the Spectrum, if you have 10 practitioners in there all trying to learn over the course of 12, 16 hours, whatever it may be, not everyone's going to have the optimal level of hands-on experience. And there's still clinical and didactic and laser safety.
And different learning styles. And and someone might be afraid to ask a question if they don't feel, if they feel like they're the only one that has that question.
Of course.
I think that's limited when you have a smaller training group.
Yeah. So what we've done is we have great trainers. We've also built a lot of modules online we have some of them launching as we speak, that are budnology videos of how to turn on the device, how to use it, how to adjust from power setting to power setting, how to understand the parameters and the science behind it. We have FAQs, so the face of the office. It's really a very important aspect that I think is overlooked sometimes. You walk into a practice and the person that's answering the phones at the front desk may not really know about the technology because everything's focused on the practitioners. So we've put things together so that every touch point in the practice has knowledge on what the technology is, what it does, who it best treats, how many sessions. And then it also kind of travels along the lines of protocols. We have documented protocols that are real life, recommended from physicians to physicians, so that they know they can put that right on the machine and post-training.
As far as like support. Settings for, fits type this or this concern, here's the settings that I would start from.
That's right, because it's always a concern from a medical device company to project settings because you have to recommend for safety. Mm-hmm. So we have those, of course. We also have physicians that have helped guide us and guide other practices. These are things that we have used safely for better efficacy. So we have all of that information to provide to really give the best overall experience to our practices.
I love that. And I think it's so important because when I'm teaching our students in our community about hiring, onboarding is such an important piece. And I typically say like week 1 is all about the product lines, anything that you're learning in your brain, like you would in a normal school, right? Your software, like all of that. And then week 2 is the hands-on, because we use different parts of our brain when we're learning how to use a software or how like the ingredients in a product line or whatever. Versus, all right, I'm holding it like this, there's a different mind-body connection. Having those videos already created and this is how you do this is how you do that, that can set up a new provider and also new support staff for so much success and take so much off of your plate as the business owner. You include that into your onboarding process. And then you have the rep available to answer questions after they've watched all of those videos. Absolutely. So you're saving the rep's time. You're saving your time that you're not explaining all of that, but you're still setting that employee up for success. I love that. That is huge.
It is. And so what's also become powerful is social media has become powerful. Strategic partners have been powerful. So our goal is to try to cascade as much information so that practices have the best resources. What's been really, really nice is Rohrer has grown tremendously. When I looking back, I was with another company that had a strategic alliance with Rohrer that kind of introduced me to the company over 4 years ago. And we saw it was a small company with so much potential. And today we have I think the amount of practices that we have is probably tripled or quadrupled over that time. And now practices are actively sharing so much of their content with Rohrer, showing how they're doing treatments, projecting out to their patient base, but also for other physicians to see. It's kind of a little community through social media. And there's always goods and bads with social media, but there's been so much good that has come from an educational standpoint. And that's really crossed over into our strategic partners as well, because we try to have the best opportunity to give the best value. So from injecting schools to networks for med spas, you name it, there's a lot of opportunities that we can give back so that we can continue with the best clinical education, the best knowledge, other value propositions, from giving practice owners the opportunity to get reductions in costs as they expand their business in a multitude of different other companies.
It was really cool for me to see. I did a training for Rohrer on events, so like a marketing training. And I think we had about 200 people there. And we had the Q&A at the end, and there was some conversation going on between a couple of the attendees there about settings on the Pixel 8. And the one gal was just raving about the results that she got on the belly. And another gal was saying, I'm having trouble with that. And she said, oh, just message me and I'll help you and share my settings. And I thought, what a beautiful culture that's been created, that clients, like, you're bringing your clients together, even not just like the relationship with the rep and the individual practice, but all of the clients of Rohrer coming together and supporting one another as well within their community, open to sharing their settings, and seeing them being thrilled about I was like, that clip needs to be a testimonial for you guys of the results that she was getting.
So I love that. We've been doing regionally based pop-ups through the end of last year, coming into now as well. And what I found at these are, a lot of these pop-ups are usually heavy sales forums, but we kind of bifurcate into people that are looking to expand their practice with devices, but also people that have our devices and want to learn more. And we have continued clinical education, combination therapy. And what I've seen in a lot of these, because I attend all of them so that I can really outreach and meet a lot of these practices, it's unbelievable who will volunteer information to try to help practices because they have the confidence and the knowledge of it. And we haven't paid anyone to join these from a speaking perspective. And people have come and done live demos and educated a room of 20 other practitioners on, these are my settings and these are how I do that. And then it follows through on forums like webinars, and it's a beautiful thing to see. And we try to keep the same culture within Rohrer as well. We hire really great sales professionals, but there's a real commonality of everyone sharing best practices and helping one another. And it's just been really great watching
collaboration, not competition.
100%.
It's really, just really looking at, there is more than enough for every single practice in this industry to thrive. And when we support others in our industry and share strategies, it really helps the entire industry grow bigger.
I agree.
I loved seeing that.
It's a lost art as well. And I think the more that you embrace that and forget a lot of the things that you might have seen, just embrace the collaboration. I think that's how people grow.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so talk to me a little bit more about, we started this, but I want to know, what is normal for a practice to expect in terms of support around actual training with a company?
Well, so there's an old saying, like, how do you get rid of a laser salesman? Buy the laser, which you've probably heard in the past. So we really try to be the antithesis of that and not have that happen. So it starts with the sales rep. And that's really where our pricing transparency has been helpful. You know exactly what you're getting into, you know exactly what device, and then starts the process of let's onboard, right? Just like you hire somebody and you have to onboard them and train them, we have the same process. And the support is critical. So it starts with training, but they have to have some level of resource. We're a small boutique company that's growing. We do have a clinical team that is really focused on the experience of the practice to make sure that they are getting the best level of technical support and understanding the technology. But we also have some processes where we help specifically on the Pixel 8 so that they get the best level of support, whether it's for patient events, strategy on how they can do more treatments, but while they're doing more treatments, make sure that they're qualifying and having the right level of consultation so they're treating the people that need it. So as we continue to grow from a sales perspective, we want a direct parallel to clinical and post support so that we continue growing from a practice-focused standpoint. And one of our pillars of our organization is enhancing the customer experience. And that's a really important thing that every decision that we make has to check one of the boxes of our pillars, and the customer experience is number one, making sure that they get the best opportunity, the best resources, and really can utilize our strengths to give back to them.
But the practice owners, they should still understand that training needs to be part of their process as well. They, if your provider needs additional support, it's not always like the rep is there to handle a certain piece of it, right? You have your clinical team that they can ask questions to, you're doing these trainings. But sometimes there's more advanced training or longer training that needs to happen. And the physician or nurse or laser school or wherever, there's other entities as well that can be incorporated into that process, right?
Of course. So I think when purchasing a piece of equipment, I think it's important, which not everyone thinks this way, is I'm making a decision to buy something and I need to make sure that I give my all into making it successful. And a lot of people rely on companies or people to help them build success. And it is important to always give back from a company, but it really starts with the person that owns the practice. How am I going to make sure that I hold my staff accountable so that they are paying attention throughout the entire training, right? What opportunities are there in my local market so that I can have them learn the most about wavelengths and science and physics? So there are, of course, laser training schools, and they teach all different dynamics of the clinical versatility of things in wavelengths and chromophores and how to be safe with technology. Our goal is to help put them in the right direction. We give them as much as we can from a technology company standpoint. And then we also have a team inside that can always relay more continued education. But that's also why we've done things like these local regional events, is staffs are ever changing and practices are growing and they have turnover. So when you train somebody once, that doesn't mean they'll be there in a year. So our goal is to continue to build out our company and create these forums, whether they're virtual or in person, that practices can take time. Maybe it's a few hours, maybe it's a day, to join and have camaraderie with like-minded practices that have the same or similar technology or that are interested in building out. And we give back there where we can have open discussions, live treatments, and really show and give back to them.
Yeah, that's a really important piece, I think. And it ties into, something that we were talking about in our off the cuff video that we did with the strategic partnerships, is how important relationships are, and really like you get out of it what you put into it. So showing up for these types of events, really building the relationships with your rep, getting to know them and letting them understand your practice, I think will help you go that much further. And,
I agree.
And really just get the most out of the device. And then your reps are going to want to show up to your events. They'll be more personally invested, I think.
Well, it's like anything else. I use an analogy sometimes where you think about combination therapies, and it's like you can bake a cake and it'll be great. It'll taste good. But once you start putting fondant or icing or sprinkles, all those, now it's amazing. So it's the same thing with collaborations of strategic alliances and companies working with other companies, and how can we work together to give the best experience for our practices so that they can have comprehensive solutions. It ties into a lot of different things. And then combination therapies itself, you could do one treatment. Pixelate is fantastic. It's going to help improve texture, tone, tightness, acne scarring, fine lines, wrinkles. But if you pair it with another modality, like something like an erbium from the spectrum, now you're having a comprehensive result throughout multi-dimensional layers of the skin to really give a better change. I think it crosses over into so many different avenues, and strategic alliances has kind of almost been our combination therapy from a practice standpoint, but it's transcended into the business world to help be able to give better opportunities for practices. And you have to like who you work with, right?
Yes.
So we've chose some unbelievable partners that not only do they have good products and good services, but they're just great people.
I love that. So much good information. Is there anything that I have not asked that you feel like would be important to call this episode complete?
Oh, I think this was great. I love being able to tell the Rohrer story. I'll quickly tell that, which has been really impactful professionally in my life. I joined the medical aesthetics industry in 2007, and this is the third company that I've been with since. So 16 years.
We're almost the same.
I know.
I was 2006.
It's amazing. I know. You beat me by 1 year. So yeah, so I jumped in, and I at a really early age, I got introduced to Mark Rohrer, and a few years into the first company I worked with, our company acquired his first company. He's been in the industry for 30 years with always the same mindset. And he worked for some major companies, and in the year 2000, decided to take a venture out on his own and build something new, a medical device company. And that company he ended up selling to another major one, to Cynosure. He sold in 2014. And when he created, and that business, by the way, was built on the same pricing affordably, gold standard wavelengths, versatility, price transparency. So when he created his new business, Rohrer Aesthetics, it was really on the mindset of, I really need, I don't have to do this. I want to do this because I feel like there's a gap in the medical device industry, specifically for practitioners. And how can I do market research with a lot of the physicians and luminaries and thought leaders that I've worked with in the decades that I've been doing this, to say, hey, if I was going to build a device and devices, what do you recommend? And that was the birth of the spectrum. A lot of the practitioners out there said, there's not one device that has all of these wavelengths on it at the time. And there's still very few. And if you can do that, and understanding the cost of manufacturing and keep your pricing low when you're projecting out to the market, we feel that you're going to be able to do such a service to a lot of these practices out there. And that was back in 2015. And it's just transcended over time, where now people are realizing that as long as you have the science is there, the financial aspect, especially, we've already proven that aesthetics in general is relatively recession-proof. It was a global pandemic-proof. It came back so quickly. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're making the best sound decisions financially and clinically. Mm-hmm. So from the financial component, I think as the economic turns and shifts, it's important to be able to be mindful of how am I investing and what type of decisions am I making to benefit my practice. And that's the reason I'm here, is I think I could look at every single spa owner, physician straight in the eye and say, I have the best opportunity to give you that financial freedom and allow you to affordably dive into an area that we know that you can grow your practice, that's clinically backed by science and validated peer reviews, over and over again.
Mm-hmm. I love that. So good. Well, you guys are definitely making waves in the industry. I've been hearing about you from a lot of our clients, and I'm so excited and happy to be able to be in partnership with you guys.
Oh, agreed. And it's so great to see you shine. I've learned so much about you over a short period of time, and getting to know you. I mean, I can see why you're so successful. It's great.
Thank you. Thank you. So tell everybody where they can find you, follow you, get in touch with you, learn more about Rohrer.
Yes, thank you. So RohrerAesthetics.com. Our Instagram handle is @Rohrer Aesthetics. Our company is small, located in Homewood, Alabama. That's where Mark Rohrer was born and raised. So please follow us on Instagram. Find us on the website. You can also always reach out to me at Arca Aesthetics. I'm Ryan Arca, the Vice President of Sales. And it's been a pleasure getting to know everyone.
Wonderful. Thank you guys so much. And we will catch you on the next episode.